Well, good evening and welcome to the Arbor Hills Nature Preserve in Plano, Texas. Tonight's exercise is a field test of the RovyVon E5 Keychain Flashlight. I do want to thank RovyVon for sending me the light and making the review possible. I have been asked to increase the number of field tests of this style of light on the channel, and I do, believe it or not, use lights like this in search and rescue operations. Those use cases tend towards area lighting if I need to hot swap the batteries in my primary SAR headlamp, area lighting during a rest interval, sometimes tracking, and then during the rescue phase when I am administering first aid. But your use cases may be different. Well, you may like the fact that this light can be ordered in a number of different configurations. You have primary light output here. These emitters can be ordered warm or cool white with output levels of moonlight, low, medium, high strobe. Secondary lighting here, you always get warm, white, low, high, and an option of red or UV. Primary control switch, secondary control switch. I do wish these were a bit larger to accommodate gloved operation, and you may find it easier out of the box if they were larger to do the double, triple, or quad click necessary to unlock all the features that the light offers. But the gloved operation is the most important to me, and I did find these to be a bit too small. You get a nice split ring and clip. You'll notice though, given the length of the clip and the fact that it's one way and there's a lot of space there, most of the straps or even pockets that you would clip it into, there's a lot of play. I may do a demo of that later. You've probably noticed that you can see inside the light, and this area right here looks empty. The reason for that is a fairly interesting feature. These style of lights have become very popular recently, primarily because of proprietary internal batteries that can drive them at pretty impressive lumen output for the size, even if only for modest time frames. Well, you may be thinking, what happens if I exhaust that battery? Although you may not intend to buy this as a constant on tool, what happens if you get jammed up? This is the only light that you have, and then you run out of the battery. Well, the good news is that this accepts a AAA, either alkaline or nickel metal hydride. You simply open this switch. You do need to be a bit careful. It takes a bit of effort to open, and if you try to force it all the way up, you could end up damaging it. That's a very thin switch. If you damage it, well, I don't need to finish the sentence. With gloves, I would probably use a multi-tool to just barely pop that open, and then it rotates right up. You drop your AAA in. You're not going to get the lumen output that we're going to see tonight, but if you have a 2-pack or a 4-pack on you, that can dramatically expand the amount of usable light that you can get out of this very small flashlight. Now, if you've seen any of my other reviews, you know I don't spend a lot of time talking about technical details of lighting systems. There are, in fact, some very, very good in-depth reviews online that have a lot of the tech detail that some people are interested in. I'm not really going to go over the UI. It functions exactly the way it is given on the website, exactly the same way it's written in the user's manual. These reviews are all about field testing. Beam shots, and more beam shots. How does the light actually perform under realistic conditions? Well, let's go find out. We are here at the bridge where I normally do output level testing in low, medium, I'm going to move to my right here before I go up so I can maximize line of sight, which is a bit over 35 yards to the furthest edge of the tree line, and this is our first look in high. So how does medium do if you're following a groomed path? Well, I suppose adequate, but just adequate. It's good enough for the path in front of you and very minimal side to side. But this time of year, everything that slithers or walks on four legs is out in force. I'd probably want just a tiny bit more out of this, but like I said, if you were jammed up, you didn't have any choice, and it was a well-groomed path, this would get the job done, but only minimally. So I have my headlamp on in a low flood. I mentioned tracking as a possible use case. So the simplest use of tracking is just to generate more contrast at a low level. I can't really get much detail from this flood, but if I take the E5 in medium and I hold it low to the ground, now I'm generating a lot of shadowing, a lot of contrast. I also use UV in tracking because under any type of light, these rocks seem whitish. They're pieces of jewelry like fake pearl earrings, a lot of things that will blend in with the rocks, even if I'm right on top of them, just because there's so many rocks. But they will show up brilliantly under UV. So that's why I like this particular model, is even with this medium, I can generate contrast a pretty substantial distance in front of me. This example is hard to film. I have a very low level of illumination right here in front of me. This is from the E5 clipped to my headlamp strap. So this is simulating a situation where I'm providing first aid and it's on low output level. If we look up, I have my headlamp on a spot and angled up and away from me, so I can simply move my eyes up like this, slight movement of the head, and I still have excellent downrange visibility. So I'm using my headlamp to maintain downrange situational awareness. There may still be animal threats from that direction, but I have a light that is ideal for the first aid task right here in front of me, functioning heads free, and it is currently clipped to my headlamp strap. So that shows you how I might use a light like this E5 in the rescue phase of an operation. So a pretty challenging environment tonight. We have almost a half moon out, clear night. We have the lit observation area to the left and a dark pocket of trees about 45, 48 yards in front of me. So let's bring the E5 in on turbo, high. No problem with the photonic barrier or the moonlight out. I'm getting good visibility inside the tree line, but let's leave it on because the step down should begin immediately. We're just going to let this run. This will serve as a bit of a step down as well as a heat test. I've got my index finger on the head area of the flashlight. Definitely some heat, but not uncomfortable to force me to move my finger away. So it looks like it's doing a fairly good job of regulating. And as we get to the end of this sweep, I can definitely see the effect of step down. Heat is there, but not uncomfortable. And it's a very warm night tonight. And we're getting to about that 3-minute mark. A little over 3 sustained on high, and I'm going to go ahead and shut it down. We'll do a couple more tests and then wrap it up for the night. This is the UV. See the scorpion? You do have to get it a bit closer than some other UVs because it doesn't really have a hot spot. It's very, very floody. So I'm having to hold it very close. But you do get a very wide field of view. And so you can see how I'm holding it that close to get that view of the scorpion. And so here we are with the light on its side. This is the secondary lighting, high white. And this is the warm emitter. I'm taking a quick break at the top of the observation tower, and I wanted to point out something about the UI. I don't remember this being mentioned. If I'm in error, then I apologize. So let's turn the primary light on, and that's in low. Notice I cannot immediately, just by clicking on that switch, activate the secondary. I have to turn this off, then now I can activate the secondary. If the secondary is on, primary doesn't work. I have to turn this off. Then there's the momentary high, and looking across the extent of the bridge over 35 yards to that far tree line, I'm going to head on back in and we'll wrap this up. Back up to the picnic area, we do have light all around, but we have a number of very dark pockets. So here is the E5 in medium. up one to high. What I want to show you in this last exercise is I have the light opened up. You can see that all I had, unfortunately, on me was Duracell Power Boost in AAA, but notice that the light continues to work even if you were in the process of changing the battery. Let's start this exercise over. We are running on AAA in low, medium, same area, up to high. Let's go back over here. Big difference. But as we look out into here, you can see we got very usable light. So as I've often said, I don't promote lights. I'm not an advocate, ambassador, enthusiast, or fanboy of any brand or any particular model. I do search and rescue. I just use what works. I have yet to help anybody who has objected to the equipment that I use to find them. So I've often said that my job is pretty easy. I run the test, you make the decision. So I hope you've seen enough tonight to make that decision. Personally, I think some more tests and comparisons have to be run, but if you've made up your mind, you've made up your mind. That's really all that matters, is what's best for you personally. And on that note, I'll go ahead and shut it down for tonight. I will say that if you'd like to see more test or comparison, leave a comment. I've still got a pretty hefty backlog, but I'll see what I can do this summer. And as always, until the next review, thank you very much for your time, and thank you for watching the video.